Warning, warning, Wii U. If you're a big fan of RWBY and don't want to listen to people being rude about the show, you probably won't enjoy this podcast. Please don't make yourself suffer. You've been warned.
Who cares about lyrics? This show sucks.
Penny leaned on Yang heavily as she stumbled her way to the vault. Jorn wasn't here to amp her aura anymore. She wasn't sure why, but apparently he was needed elsewhere. She was worried. She was scared. She continued to struggle to hold the virus back. She knew as soon as she opened the vault, the virus would try to kill her. But her friends were here. She had friends. She knew that they would look after her. She knew the plan. The second the vault opened, RWBY and Yang and Blake and Weiss would shoot into the vault and time would stop. The second they were done, they would do something to save her. She had faith, even as she felt the virus attempting to destroy her. It happened in a flash. She looked up, and she saw something she wasn't expecting. She saw herself. She saw herself, but she was different. It didn't make a lot of sense. But what she did feel was the virus. She felt the virus pushing her, stressing every one of her gears, her hydraulics. Everything was pushing against itself. She couldn't move properly. She needed to reach for her aura. She needed to tamp this back. She reached out. But there was nothing there. Where was her aura? Why couldn't she hold this back? And then she realized the thing in front of her, the other her, it was there. She tried to reach out, but every motion was pushed back by orders coming from somewhere. Gears grinding, everything stressing, warning lights everywhere. She couldn't move properly. Every motion was painful in a way she'd never experienced. She fell to her knees. And when she looked up, she saw something she really wasn't expecting. Feet. And that was the last thing she saw.
You motherfucker. Oh my God. Also, I'm suing you. I helped come up with some of the concepts for this amazing story about the horrible thing.
Hey, it was a collaboration.
Yes. Welcome to our memory of poor Robo Penny.
Other people in the fandom and elsewhere have suggested the point that, yeah, there's no reason to think that Penny wasn't still conscious. And because I've been thinking about that all week, I should just alert all of you listeners that I am 1.5 gin and tonics into this podcast. So Cube got to get drunk last time. I get to get drunk this time because I'm struggling to cope with RWBY at this point.
I'm going to try to be the responsible designated driver. But also I was thinking about how Penny, you know, she believed in her friends. She thought that they loved her. She thought that they saw her as a person, even though she was a robot, which they keep bringing up for some reason. But they definitely love her anyways. But then, oh, what's this? They've created a different Penny friend who's not a robot, who's a flesh girl.
Yeah.
And I'm being replaced now.
Yeah.
And now I'm dying. The end.
I should have mentioned that she looks over at RWBY and RWBY is smiling at this other Penny.
Yeah.
As she dies.
God damn.
We didn't talk about it in the last day, but it did appear in the YouTube version. But the shot of Penny's robot's dead hand and RWBY is smiling in the background. There's so much we didn't get to about last episode and how terrible it was, but holy shit.
Okay, but that shot is an excellent lead into this episode because, you know, I've had this kind of running idea that maybe RWBY isn't a real show. This episode is a shit post created specifically to amuse me by some kind of fucking sleeper cell among RWBY, and I don't know who it is. But you are my friend, and I appreciate this gift because I'm pretty sure technically I wrote this episode, and it's amazing. And everything that happens in it is fucking hilarious, but in a way where clearly they were able to get it past QA, pretending that it's serious, you know? But no, it's a giant joke. It's so good. Thank you. Thank you.
Do you know the phrase, ask a stupid question, get a stupid answer?
Yes.
I feel like make stupid plans, get stupid results kind of applies to this episode. Like, we joked about all the ways that RWBY's plan was bad last episode and all the ways it could go wrong. And I really didn't expect there to be an episode where everything we predicted fucking happened.
My other idea for the intro to this podcast was going to be, oh, what's that? What's that over the horizon? What's that coming at us? Could it be the natural consequences of our actions? My.
I'm so mixed about this because on the one hand, yes, it's kind of satisfying to see them fail in incredibly predictable ways. But at the same time, I know that the writers think it's like, oh no, how could they have predicted all of this when it was so fucking obvious that there were so many flaws in their plan. And we're meant to think like, oh no, it hasn't worked out. But all of it was so predictable. Everything that went wrong.
That's what makes RWBY so special. Like, yes, we knew there were all these problems, and now they're showing us all these problems happening exactly as you could predict, and we know that it's a direct result of what RWBY's doing, but somehow we also know that the writers don't think that this is the obvious and bad result of the things RWBY's been doing, and that's fucking wild.
You go to like the writers' Twitter, and they're all talking about how everyone else nailed it. All these things coming together and all patting each other on the back, and it's like, I know that this is a thing they're kind of obligated to do to some extent because if they don't do it, people notice. But it's always so hard to tell, like, how much do they believe this versus how much do they, like, are they just obligated to do it? I want to know so badly whether or not they know that they fucked it.
My conspiracy theory is, you know how since last episode Eddie was like 2 episodes left, and this episode he was like only 1 episode left this season, and that's my conspiracy theory, that he knows it's bad. It's like we have to get through one more episode, and then we'll be free for a bit.
They've already written season 9. Season 9 is under production and they can't fix it.
Yeah, they're fucked.
It's too late.
But you know what? That's fine because nothing about this episode needs to be fixed except for a few times when they do the low frame rate animation, which still pisses me off. Otherwise, it is perfectly comedically delivered and it's the best episode I've ever seen.
You're not wrong about it. Like, you described it as like a sarcastic response to the previous episode.
Yeah.
And that's perfectly what this is, but without realizing that it's sarcastic.
I don't know. Some of the animation, I absolutely don't believe. Like, you can't have put that character with that face and that pose and not known that you were shit posting. Someone knows what's going on.
You think some of the animators are like, yeah, fuck this.
Yeah. I have theories. Look, we got to get into it, and I'll present my evidence.
And I'll keep drinking.
Opening, you hear Oscar's voice with the "What do we do now?" And the portal opens for Orangey, Ornje, all of them in that room where they were trying to send out the signal and they couldn't. And they see the portal and they're like, oh man, oh no, but we weren't able to send out the instructions to everybody. How will we tell everybody to go in the weird doors? And they were like, we'll just walk around, John and Nora will, and tell everyone to come in the weird doors, every single person in the kingdom, and that'll work out. Because the writers have no sense of scale, and so it's fine.
Oh, God, the scene where John goes and tells the people in the train station is like...
Fuck that scene.
Can we talk about that scene now?
Wait, we can talk about it once they go in the portal.
Okay.
And then I'll allow you that.
Okay.
Because, so for some reason, Oscar, Ren, and Emerald have been chosen to go to Vacuo, and I don't know why Oscar and Emerald are there. Because the idea is that Ren is going to suppress the emotions of every single person in the entire kingdom on the other side.
That's a thing he can do.
Don't see any problem with that. Totally fine.
Oh, God. If there's one thing this episode highlights, it's how willing the writers are to completely outscale or underscale Aura. If they need someone to be defeated quickly, Aura is piss weak. If they need someone to like be incredibly overpowered, Aura is like... Even the idea that Ren is able to suppress the emotions of the entire kingdom for more than a minute is so far beyond his abilities.
Without John even.
Yeah, without John. Like, Ren was struggling to suppress, say, 30 people in that episode where they were evacuating people with John's help. In this case, out of that, the idiotic one doorway to Vacuo, he manages to suppress the entire kingdom of Atlas's aura for like at least 20 minutes.
Okay, to be fair, that's only the people that managed to get to the other side, which is like not that many people considering what happens.
It's a lot of people.
It's definitely a lot of people.
It's too many fucking people.
And Nora, you know, since they decided not to put that in last episode, now they have to try to justify why the fuck they're going to Vacuo. And Nora says, Shade is armed to the teeth, but they'll need help with, all this negativity that we're bringing with everybody. So I like that the excuse is like, Shade has so many soldiers, but they're still going to be fucked.
Yeah, I know.
So we're going to have to help so that we don't kill them instantly with all these people we're bringing.
This is the thing. The second that Oscar and Emerald and Ren step through the portal.
You keep wanting to jump ahead.
I'm sorry.
Because first we go in, and I hate that Nora can just straight up fly now. The way that she rides her. I mean, I guess it's okay, but considering all the times that they make it very important that these characters can't fly, they sure have made a whole lot of these characters fly.
They have, but I will say there is something very cute about Nora flying around on her hammer.
I guess that's true.
I absolutely agree that this has come out of nowhere, but it is cute that she jumps on her hammer and she just zoom around. It's one of those times where if RWBY was a better show, it's one of those things where I look at and go, I would be totally okay with just waving this off because it is just like, it's nice. There's something kind of charming about it that she just like, she's hopping from door to door to tell people what to do. And then she just jumps on her hammer and
You know what I would have preferred? Instead of the handle disappearing and her just riding the barrel part, I think it would have been really cute if the handle kind of realigned with the barrel such that it was kind of like a witch's broom.
Yeah, that would have been cool. Yeah.
That would be real cute. And then she could like sit on it all cute, side saddle when she wants to or whatever and be cute.
See, this is one of those things where it's like, I know the animators did this. It wasn't the writers. It wasn't the writers who had this idea. The animators had to fucking make it work. I will forever believe that the only things that are any good in RWBY are the result of these poor fucking animators who have to spin a sow's ear out of pig shit.
Yeah, because the first time she did this was against Funky, so I could absolutely believe that just during that silly Funky montage, one of the storyboarders drew her in doing that, and they were like, oh, I guess she can do that now.
Yeah. And that's fine. Like, again, if RWBY was a better show, that's one of those things where I'd be like, that's cool. That's cute. I'm fine with it. But and it's dumb here because, like, one of the things that was raised as an issue with this whole plan was that who the fuck is directing all of these people and telling them where they need to go? And like, even the fact that, like, they only leave it up to 2 hunters. Jorn and Nora are the 2 people who have to direct an entire fucking nation into, like, walking through the portals and telling them where they need to go. Because, like, that's the other thing about this plan is, like, there are all these portals. When people step into a portal, they are faced with probably like another couple of portals next to each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like they have to be told, no. You have to ignore those other doors. You have to walk to the big door over there at the end of Rainbow Road. And there's only 2 people who have to tell an entire fucking nation that this is what they're supposed to do.
No, it's fine. We see the happy huntresses. They immediately have grokked what they need to do and are helping. But we don't get that yet. Now you're allowed to talk about the shitty scene with John and the citizens. So enjoy.
So we cut to the empty train station that was full of people before, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the portal has popped up. And it's empty. Why is it empty? There were tons of people here before. It's empty because everyone is popping out from behind something in the scene like it's a fucking comedy bit. Everyone was hiding. This is funny bit. Everyone's hiding because they're afraid of the portal. They push someone who's probably a fucking crewbie, some person they focus on.
The voice acting sure sounded like it was some kind of crewbie.
And he has to step forward. So he picks up a rock and he's afraid of the portal. So he chucks a rock and then Jorn steps through and he cops a rock to the face.
That part's good.
And it's like, ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha.
Fuck you, John.
Jorn looks like an idiot. It's a good thing he's in charge of evacuating an entire fucking nation.
And it's a good thing we just had a gag where for some reason when everybody else walks through the magical doors, they just kind of fall out the other side. But he gets super thrown around real funny because he's the funny boy.
He's a funny boy. Oh, Jorn.
He's a funny boy.
He's a funny boy. Nothing ever goes right for Jorn. Poor Jorn. Poor old Jorn.
Hit him in the dick again. Anyways, that's what John's up to.
Yeah, he gets thrown through the portal, and the second he gets through to try and tell everyone stuff, he gets hit with a rock, and that's funny. It's funny. Listeners, remember how funny this is. Remember how funny we're supposed to find this in like 2 minutes.
Phoenix, maybe you haven't heard about juxtaposition. They are juxting the position just so.
Anyway, John arrives. He gets hit in the head with a rock, but then he tells everyone they're going to walk through the portal. They are all fine with that. All of the citizens of Atlas and Mantle, they're fine with that.
Look, he shows his hunter's license, so it's fine.
He shows his hunter's license, which means that when he tells everyone, hey, we have decided to destroy your home's going to be obliterated. But it's fine because we're hunters, and that's the thing we can do, apparently. So, like, just so you know, your home's going to be blown up. But we're sending you to the desert full of dangerous animals. So, like, just come through this door.
I don't know why you would assume that they're being dropped in the middle of the desert full of dangerous animals. I'm sure that Team RWBY picked a perfectly safe place, got the coordinates, made sure that everyone is safely dropped off. They have plenty of resources. There's probably a convenient oasis nearby. And it's somewhere where you don't have to worry about a lot of Grim attacking or anything. And it's fine. And I don't know why you keep assuming they're so incompetent. I love the show. Tell me about what happens with Oscar and Ren and Emerald, Phoenix.
They're going to go through the portal first because they're going to protect everyone. They're going to protect an entire nation from whatever's waiting for them at the other end of the portal. And Oscar's talking about how it's cool. We're gonna drop just outside the city limits. It's going to be fine. Mm-hmm. So they step through the portal, and what's happening? What's happening, Jib?
It's just a motherfucking sandstorm. Cue Darday. And they can't see the city anywhere because presumably it hasn't been designed yet by the art team. And oh no, why is this happening? There's nothing here. And there's a sandstorm. We can't even get any kind of signal. We can't reach anybody. There's just a bunch of sand everywhere in the desert. Who could have seen this coming?
Oh no. It turns out that Vacuo is a really fucking dangerous place. That is probably the worst place to chuck a bunch of refugees. Like, Oscar actually says it's cool because they're sticking them outside the city limits. So it's an okay place to chuck a bunch of refugees. Turns out it's not a cool place to chuck a bunch of refugees.
And here come the refugees, including, of course, the fucking racist lady, everyone's favorite character. And Ren is like, welcome to Vacuo.
Kirsty actually tweeted something about how that was her favorite Easter egg.
The racist lady?
No, not the racist lady, but the family with the spade. They're here too. So isn't it cool the family with the spade are here? What an arc.
Shut the fuck up.
What a cool arc. The lady with the spade whose home is being destroyed by Team RWBY. She has gone from living in an incredibly cold place to an incredibly hot place that is now currently inhospitable.
Ooh, there's so many things to talk about. Oh,
God, there's so many things to talk about.
They're all still in their winter clothes. This is fine.
In terms of the worst place you could put a population that is used to a cold weather climate, they are putting them in the middle of a sandstorm in the absolute worst fucking place.
Also, I like that a lot of times when we cut to this group, nobody's moving. So if an entire kingdom was actually coming through that door, people would get trampled the fuck to death.
Of course they would.
But it's fine because countries only have like 80 people in them tops. It's cool.
One of the things I love about this episode, one of the things I absolutely adore to the bottom of my heart is that you see so many people die horribly. You see a lot of people actually die and it doesn't really matter.
I'm smiling real big. RWBY saved the day, you guys. They fucking did it. I'm so proud of our heroes. They've had such great character arcs and they've grown so much and they've saved the day.
So many people from Atlas die. Okay, so the people in Atlas before were sheltering and they were in danger because supposedly there were lots of Grim around.
Which aren't here this episode conveniently. We don't see a single fucking Grim attacking, so just take our word for it.
There's lots of Grim around, just take our word for it. We didn't see them in one episode, then we saw them in another episode, then we don't see them in this episode.
We didn't see them, and also we didn't mention them, and also we never mentioned a single reason why we actually have to evacuate right now, but please feel free to make your own headcanon.
It's so incredible that we actually witness citizens of Atlas actually dying because of what Team RWBY has chosen to do. The writers chose to show us that. They chose to show us people dying directly because of what this team, what their main characters chose to do. They show us that.
No, it's not their fault. The mean lady showed up. How could they have predicted a mean lady showing up?
But the best part is the people dying is like dismissed. It's like it's just a cool visual we get to see. A cool visual we get to see is people dying in horrible ways. They are blown off platforms and sent to their death into the nigger zone, wherever the fuck that leads. They are picked up by Grimm and dragged away to a painful death where their limbs are torn from them by beasts.
Yeah, that's spoiling the end of the episode, but yeah, because that's just the topper at the end of the fucking end of the episode. You see all these freaked out people, and of course Ren's aura breaks because it turns out that he can't actually he can't emotion block an entire kingdom of people for an extended period of time. And then a buck ton of Grimm show up.
Who
could have predicted this except for both of us when we were talking about how this plan should go down? And then it happened. Thank you.
This is a point I want to make. It wasn't just us. Okay, we are doing a podcast where we think the worst of RWBY, right? You know, like as much as RWBY is a bad show, and I think we've made that case over 2 seasons of covering the show.
We are not generous.
No, we are not generous. We are not generous. We are looking at RWBY for the worst possible light. But even the fans knew this was going to happen. Like, you go and look at the Reddit, and even the fans were like, Vacuo seems like a bad place to send everyone because of like what was in that E.C. Myers book, where it's like it's full of monsters and it's not a great place to send people. And it turns out, yeah, it's not a great place to send people.
I'm just shaking my head in awe that this is like, yeah, we said that this is what they should assume happened, and then it happened, and I'm like, well, you fucking win, I guess. Now I don't know what to say. I mean, fair. You got me. So yeah, it's like fucking Jurassic Park because you see someone get carried off because there's all these giant bat Grimm that are attacking everybody, and you know, ORE, they grab their weapons, and I'm sure this is all fine now. We're the heroes.
3 hunters is like, that's sufficient to defend an entire kingdom. They were definitely worse off in Atlas, where they had shelter and weren't actively being attacked by the Grimm. It was definitely the right decision to send Atlas to the ground and destroy the only place that produces dust as far as we know in the canon.
Yeah, I want people to really think about, like, I got into some ill-advised debates with people on Twitter. I will admit, Father, I have sinned. But the thing is, they say all these things. We can assume they did all this off screen. We can assume they had these reasons off screen. But it turns out, no, everything is exactly as we thought. And the thing is that they never gave any excuse for why they're actually evacuating these people other than Salem is around somewhere. Which, I mean, we're fine as long as she doesn't find one of these many, many doors to go through. So that's good. And I want you to think of the perspective of one of these mantle people. You've been getting fucked over so much. Everyone's trying to kill you. And then someone from the wanted list shows up on TV and says, by the way, we're dropping Atlas on you. And then there's silence. And then that boy comes through a door and says, by the way, come in this door. It'll be fine. And you're just supposed to be like, thank you. I owe you my life.
And then you get through the door and you were picked up by a swooping Grimm to be taken away and your eyeballs eaten out by beaks. And it's fine.
These are our heroes.
These are our heroes. They're doing it. They've done it. They've done it. They've saved everyone except they haven't because they're all about to die.
Oh. That's the other thing. Oh my God, there's so much fucking much to talk about. Okay, so my pet theory, and I'm very excited about this. I have both my arms up and I'm gesturing a lot. So you know how all these fucking stupid ass kingdoms decided to name their main city the same thing as the kingdom is named?
Yes.
So Oscar says, I told the genie to drop us off right outside the city of Vacuo, but I bet that they were just like, hey, drop everybody off right outside Vacuo. And so, oopsie, the genie thought they meant the country and not the city. And so they're on the edge of the country, actually, in like absolutely no man's territory. That's my theory. I think it's pretty good. I think it's pretty likely.
It turns out that when we thought the plan was stupid, it turns out that the plan was stupid. It was a stupid plan.
Speaking of wording, Oscar tries to go back through the door when he realizes something is wrong, and he can't. And so to explain why he can't, Oscar has a flashback to a scene that he wasn't present for and has no reason to know the dialogue from. And he's like, Oh, I remembered something. I remembered when I watched that scene on TV where Weiss said offhand to the genie, people enter from Atlas and Mantle on one side and leave on the other side with a one-way ticket to Vacuo, one-way ticket to Vacuo, one-way ticket to Vacuo, one-way ticket to Vacuo.
Yeah.
And you see the djinn and everything because he remembers that because he watches the TV show.
Oscar wasn't present for that scene, but he thinks back, and Ozpin remembers the fact that Weiss said one-way ticket to Vacuo. Neither of them were present for that fucking scene.
There's so many scenes this episode and this season where the characters just blatantly watch the show. I love it. I love that they don't give a fuck how people know shit.
Okay. Here's the thing. I want to talk about this for a little bit.
Okay.
I tweeted something before we started recording this about how this season is evidence that RWBY deserves to be cancelled.
Yeah.
This show, what happened was season 7 through 9 were renewed all at once by Warner Brothers. They were told that, we're commissioning season 7 through 9 and you're going to do those. So season 9 has actually already been written by this point.
Mm-hmm.
Based on looking at the responses from fans on Reddit, there is a definite turning happening. I have seen people reference Sherlock season 4, which is a fucking an incredible red flag in that the show has gone so far off the rails that it is time for this show to be cancelled. It is time for this show to not be renewed because everything has gone so wrong that we need to stop. The people writing this show do not deserve to be paid to continue writing a show.
It's so funny because before, if you asked me if I wanted RWBY to continue or be canceled, I would be very torn. But after last episode, I just had exact clarity. RWBY must end.
Yeah, it has to end. We'll get to a specific reason why this show should end later in this episode. There is something that happens that is morally reprehensible.
Please, Daddy Warner Brothers, save us.
Which is funny because it turned out it was actually quite predictable by what happened in season 7. They've actually decided to renew an anniversary of things that should happen.
It's very good. It's a very good show.
After last episode, I thought I don't know. I felt like the show is roughly deserving of being cancelled. But after this episode, I'm like, no, this show absolutely deserved to be cancelled.
I don't know. After this episode, I'm like, but they treated me so well. You know, it's like when you're in an unhealthy relationship and they do something horrible to you, but then they're like, hey, I bought you some flowers and shit. I say, having never been in a relationship and only knowing relationships from media. So that's what this episode is. This episode is them going, hey, I'm sorry, baby. I'm sorry about Flesh Penny. About all this horrible bullshit that you love and it's hilarious. And I'm like, God, that is pretty good, horrible bullshit, I gotta admit. So that's about a 50th of what's happened in the episode. So you want to continue the rest?
I'm ready. I'm ready.
Hell yeah. I'm so fucking pumped. Okay, so in the roller coaster hell realm that they've set up to evacuate everyone, once John and Nora start, going and telling people to come out, you start seeing a bunch of people come out. So this episode has a lot of low frame rate fucking gags. John did it earlier. Fiona does it now. Ugh.
There is the most sarcastic moment in all of RWBY I've ever seen.
God, I will give you the honor of telling people about it, but it's hard.
So. You see Fiona pop out and she waves.
Mm-hmm, she's so cute.
She waves in low frame rate. Isn't that cute? Oh look at Fiona. She's so cute. Ooh.
And Joanne's like, okay, no pushing everybody.
And then May comes out. May's here. May, a great trans rape.
Oh yeah, last time she talked to our heroes, I believe, was when they were about to be killed in Mantle. And before that, she was really pissed at them because they weren't choosing a side and now everything was doomed. And then they were getting killed by Atlas.
Remember how Blake compared May saying you need to pick a side against the fascists versus the people that have no defense and saying they were the same? Mm-hmm. Do you remember when Blake did that?
So where's May at emotionally?
May pops out of a portal and looks at Nora flying past and says, hey, I knew you guys wouldn't let us down. And it is.
And she does a big wave and smile and pulls her arm in that attaboy gesture. And there's literally no way that's not sarcastic. I'm sorry. I'm on to you. You know, a lot of the sarcasm and shitpostery of this episode is subtle. This one is where you really gave the game away. There's no way that's intended sincerely. It's amazing.
Here's the thing. The first podcast we did as Anime Slushy was about season 6, but we covered like the rest of RWBY before that, right? Briefly.
Yeah.
It's hard to describe how like we have never seen anything as disingenuous as this. You know what I mean? There is something in this episode that describes a deep separation from what the writers wanted these animators to do versus what is actually happening on screen. I tend to agree with you that there is like a weird rebellion happening in this episode.
Yes.
Where the animators are like, I cannot fucking believe the scripts we have been handed. I cannot fucking believe that the writers are suggesting this makes sense.
Figured you wouldn't let us down.
There is something so sarcastic. And like the trouble is that I know that Caden, based on that awful blog post, is totally on board. But there's something about the way it's animated that you know the animators are looking at this and going, fuck.
It feels like the end of a Disney movie, but in a purposefully sarcastic wrong way, like you'd see in Shrek or something.
Yeah. Like, we don't know. That's the thing. We don't know. We have no connection to these animators. We don't fucking know. But it just comes through. It's like the animators are sending a fucking SOS. That's like they are broadcasting so strongly. We know. Help. Help us. Save us.
No.
Get us another fucking job.
I'm sorry. We want to.
Get us off this goddamn fucking terrible show.
Find us an escape route with a bunch of silly paths that we can go on. All of us will make it, and that's good enough.
Oh, God.
So, another hilarious thing that happens in this whole, like, this is a big sweeping panning shot of a bunch of characters, and you see the Team RWBY come out through their door with Penny, and they say, our job is to get Penny and the staff to evacuate. And this is one of those things where they're just like, we don't need to justify this. We don't need to fill in the rest of this conversation. Figure it out your fucking self. Because I've been thinking, so in season 6, they're bringing the relic from one country to another country who also has a relic. And during that season, they find out that if you combine all 4 relics, the entire world is destroyed. But they still keep bringing the relic to the country with the other relic because they're like, what else are we going to do? We're already doing a thing. And now that that country has been compromised and both relics are out and about and they have one on them, they're taking it to a third kingdom where they know where another relic is and they're deciding to combine it with that one. And it's fucking amazing to me that they've set up the most insane MacGuffin plot where literally all the main characters need to do is not combine the MacGuffins. And the main characters just haven't realized that aspect of the plot. And they're just going to keep combining those fucking MacGuffins because that's how stories work, god fucking damn it.
Cube, like, this isn't even something that we've pointed out. Fans on the Reddit have pointed this out.
It's so blatant.
The idea that, like, all you need to do is not combine the relics in one place. The idea that the vault in Atlas is actually one of the safest places to put the relic right now because Penny is in control of that fucking relic. Penny is in control of that vault.
The only reason they came here is because they thought that this was the only relic vault that was safely guarded enough to protect that motherfucking lamp. And then they didn't put it in there because they're motherfuckers. But now that this one's been compromised...
But it's not even compromised!
It technically was kind of...
It's kind of compromised in the way that all vaults are compromised. But Penny is in entire control of this relic, right? Penny is in 100% control of this vault. And if she dies, she is able to hand off the control of that relic to anyone else she chooses, right?
Excuse me, Phoenix, we're supposed to headcanon that Atlas is like so fucking overrun with Grimm. They have no choice but to escape. Salem could be anywhere, but definitely not in a place where she could just come in one of these doors and follow us. We have to do this.
Even if Salem reformed right now and followed us, the Vault is still in control of either Penny or anyone Penny chooses. As much as the Vaults are utterly compromised, right?
Yeah.
Compared to the Haven Vault, where it's entirely in control of Raven, who the fuck knows what Raven wants to do, or no one cares. It doesn't matter.
I mean, it might be about to matter for reasons.
Raven is an entirely irrelevant character all of a sudden. But even if they did, right, all Atlas would need to do is survive. And that Vault is either in control of Penny or in someone Penny chooses. And rather than leave the goddamn relic in that vault, like, I started fucking yelling about this like back in fucking season 7.
Even if they're going to do this fucking plan, they should chuck the relic back in the vault and leave. And then Penny is halfway across the fucking world from this goddamn relic.
Yes.
And you aren't getting shit.
Yes. Instead, they choose to take the relic with them. And the idea that fucking Team RWBY is able to hold on to a relic is so fucking insane. We have seen Team RWBY lose a goddamn relic. We have seen it happen.
But they're the main characters, Phoenix. Who else is going to have the relics? You have to be worthy. That's the name of the episode for some reason.
Because it's about Cinder, and because it's about Cinder, Cinder's learned that she needs to be worthy, so she needs to be...
She's worthy now to something.
She has been plot armored. Okay, so it's like...
We can't get into Cinder yet. We can't do it. We have to have an order of operations, Phoenix. We got to keep our shit together.
You're killing me, Cube. You're killing me. Okay, all right.
Look, I want to say one thing real quick and then we can introduce Cinder. I want everyone to think real quick to a moment in season 6. The characters are under the effect of the Dementor Grimm, and they say something. They say, "Why don't we just drop the relic in this well? Maybe Salem will never find it." And I want you to think about an alternate universe where they just drop that relic in that motherfucking well. Because we know that the relic only weakly attracts Grimm, who obviously have no idea what to do with it. I guess they just kind of hug each other around it. We know Salem wasn't keeping track of anything they were doing. If they continued to travel to Atlas and just left the relic in that fucking well where they even probably don't remember where the fuck it is, none of this happens. Everyone is better off.
Yeah, everyone's better off. Like the extent to which an entire kingdom has been destroyed by Team RWBY, it is not acknowledged. The extent to which they have gotten an entire kingdom, and like the most powerful kingdom in this fucking world has been destroyed by Team RWBY, by the choices they have made. It is not acknowledged. It's like halfway acknowledged in the episode where Ren says we shouldn't be the one making these decisions. But don't worry, Ren just said that because he was upset.
Because he wasn't psychic yet, and he needed to be psychic. So, I don't know why you keep saying people are going to die. Why would people possibly be dying in this roller coaster hell realm? Here comes a fire. Here comes a bunch of people being blown off and into the abyss. Who could it be?
Okay. So. I understand that not everyone of my generation. My generation, I'm like halfway between like Generation X and Generation Y. I'm in this weird sort of mid-zone. Mm-hmm. But one of the things that's notable about my generation in particular is that we played Mario Kart. We played Mario Kart. Mario Kart 64 was an excellent game.
You played the fuck out of Mario Kart.
It was like, so here's the thing, right? I, as a kid, right, I didn't have a lot of money. I got like $2 allowance a week. And what I would do...
We're going on a journey here.
I would go to my local secondhand shop, which was like the sort of like, layaway type shop. And games there, I would lay away on games at $2 a week, which was all the allowance I got. And like over 5 weeks, I was able to buy a $10 Nintendo Game Boy game. And over time, I built up a collection of Game Boy games. I had like 15 games. That was my console. I had a Game Boy. I had 15 games. all sorts of weird games like Mr. Chin's Gourmet Paradise. I bought Mr. Chin's Gourmet Paradise. That was a game where you
Phoenix, we have so much to talk about. We
no.
can't go too deep into
Trust me.
this.
I'm taking you on a journey.
Okay, I'm on the journey.
Yeah, I had a game called Mr. Chin's Gourmet Paradise, which was a incredibly racist game where you played a Chinese man who set traps to turn monsters into peaches and then you ate them. I had 15 different Game Boy games, and they were all like bizarre, weird games that I picked up at this like secondhand store because they were the only things that were available. And then one day, I left them in my driveway after we came back from like a trip to the major city in my state, which is Melbourne, and they all got stolen, right? They all got stolen. I lost all of my games because...
It's the end of Act 2 low.
It's the end of Act 2 low. Like, it was my darkest moment. But because we had very good insurance from a very nice insurance company, they said, you know what? That was still within your property bounds. So you get to claim the entire lot on insurance, despite the fact that I was a 12-year-old dead shit who just left a basket on the edge of my driveway and someone came past and went, hey, a bunch of Game Boy games, and they stole them.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
For that, I got to claim $600 of insurance, and I got to buy a Nintendo 64. I honestly can't remember the point of this story, but the point is...
The point is you played Mario Kart.
The point is I got a Nintendo 64 and I got Mario Kart. And Mario Kart features Rainbow Road. And Rainbow Road is a road in Mario Kart 64 where you can fall off all the fucking time. You can fall off Mario Kart.
That was a big problem with Rainbow Road.
That was the problem with Rainbow Road, is you could fucking fall off at any moment. And so guess what happens to the people who are walking along this fucking barrierless road? They fall off! They fall off the fucking road!
They're never gonna win the fucking race.
Cinder sets off a bomb on the road, and guess what happens? People fall off. The Djinn told them the one thing they had to do is not fucking fall off, and they fall off. It's fucking...
They're not named characters. I'm sure no named characters will fall off, so it's okay.
It's fucking amazing. Because yes, later a named character will fall off, and it is the biggest deal.
Fucking spoilers.
It is the biggest deal that will ever happen in RWBY. It's so emotional. Oh God, it's so emotional. But before we see that, we see like 20 to 30 people fall to their undescribed doom.
It's fine.
They fall off. They fall in. They fall into the void. You know how Ambrosius said, "Don't fall off." They fall off.
Yeah.
They fall off.
Yeah, they do.
And you know what happens?
What?
It happens over 5 seconds, and then we don't look at it again. It's fine. We don't look at it again. Like we don't care. It's just like an indication that the battle has started. It's an indication that like, oh no, Cinder's here. Cinder, the shittiest villain over the last like 4 seasons of RWBY, the one who gets beaten.
The smile that she makes when she just killed all those people and now she's looking for Ruby and she has the wide eye and the giant cartoon grin, and I lost my fucking shit.
It's so funny. It's so unintentionally like funny because the idea that like Salem, biggest bad is here. Oh, she's dealt with an episode. Pinewood, the second biggest bad is here. This incredible fascist is in control of an entire army. Oh, he's dealt with. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Cinder is here. Oh no, it's Cinder. Cinder, the person who last season we saw run away the second RWBY used her like silver eyes. So RWBY arrives. RWBY arrives in a scene, and without any build-up, she uses her silver eyes. She is able to just like fire them off the second that she sees Cinder.
Oh yeah, I remember that when she uses the eyes real quick of "Go away, Cinder," and Cinder has to go away.
Yeah. Remember that? Remember how that happened? Like Cinder was like RWBY was able to just like fire them off in a second to make Cinder fucking go away.
Takes the silver eyes like no problem.
No problem. Like Cinder just like RWBY gets there and RWBY starts firing up the eyes and just like, fuck, I've got to get out of here because I'm going to be destroyed if I spend a second in a room with RWBY.
What you're telling me is that happens again, right?
Well, Cube, here's the thing. Here's the thing. Like Salem arrives and she explodes a platform, and like 30 to 40 Atlas citizens just fall to their death. Like they're dead.
Damn, Ruby better use those eyes real quick. Get rid of that pesky Cinder.
She better like that's like, oh my God. Like Cinder has just used her powers to kill to death.
Damn, that's the whole purpose of what they're doing is to save all those people. They better do something about that Cinder.
Team RWBY has saved everyone. They're like they've saved everyone, and like they're doing the right thing, and like and but Cinder's here, and she's like blowing shit up, and she's killed at least 40 or so Atlas citizens. They're all dead. They're like that. They actually fall.
Yeah, I'm super aware of how dead they are.
Yeah,
so we better get Cinder the fuck out of here.
We better get Cinder the fuck out of here. So what does RWBY do? What does RWBY do, Cube? What does she do?
I remember her saying, Cinder, you're bad. And Cinder saying, Nyah. And then leading into a flashback somehow. Oh, that's right. Cinder's like, I still don't know what Cinder was referring to because she was like, Oscar was right. But then the easy part ends here. And I still don't know exactly what line she's referring to.
So that was the whole thing. In the previous episode, we saw Watts tapping into communications. So Watts heard something.
That's the thing. We saw Cinder at the end, right? And there was a decent question of why the fuck does she know what their plan is? And I was like, oh, that's fine. They already explained it because Watts is tapping into their communications. And obviously they had to coordinate with Crow and Robin. So it's very reasonable that he would have heard all their communications and know exactly what they're doing. And that's how Cinder knows, right?
Yeah. That's like they had to communicate over like open transmissions, even as dumb as that is. Like the idea that you could just hack Atlas military communications. Like you could just know what Atlas was saying.
And you get on Feen's level of drunk over here.
Do you remember back in like season 7? Watts talked about how like Atlas communications were unhackable because they had upgraded all of their systems. But mantle communications were vulnerable. That's where he could get in.
I don't understand the point that you're making. This is all purposefully reasonable. And also, it doesn't matter, Phoenix. I need you to forget right away that Watts was listening in because it doesn't matter and it doesn't count and they didn't learn anything from it. Don't worry, it doesn't count. Don't you fucking think about that. You forget about that right now and I'm ordering you as the creators of RWBY. I'm the creators. There's no way that they can possibly know what RWBY's doing, what they're up to, where they are. There's only one way they could possibly find out.
You're right, Cube. You're right. You're so right. You're so right.
I know, right?
There's only one way they could know. There's only one way they could know. And it's like what if based on this the writing in RWBY, what if there was the way that you could know stuff that would be the most disappointing use of something?
Well, wait, I think you're hinting at a certain relic. I think I pick up what you're putting down, but the thing is that Neo, right, she said, you don't get the relic unless you kill RWBY for me. So she showed up, and obviously she isn't going to turn that relic over because Cinder hasn't killed RWBY yet, so I don't even know why you're invoking it.
No, of course she hasn't. Neo's only like motivation in this entire series is to kill RWBY because RWBY was responsible for Roman's death. Right, even if technically like Roman just died because there was a Grimm around.
Yeah, but she doesn't know that. She's got a plan. She's sticking to it. She's a dedicated girl.
Now this is the thing. Like I can totally buy that Neo doesn't know that RWBY was responsible for Roman's death. Obviously, Neo cared a lot for Roman. Like even though they didn't show that, I sensed that. I sensed the fact that Roman was incredibly important to Neo. You know what I mean?
You know what? They showed it rather than told it because every time we saw her and Roman together, they did super good like team attacks together and had this kind of camaraderie that you could feel because the animators do all the fucking good work in this show. So anyways, Neo gives Cinder the lamp. Because Cinder's like, hey, I want to kill RWBY for you. Really do. Would love to do that. But I don't know what the fuck she's up to. No way I could possibly know. I'm going to need that lamp. And Neo's like, okay. And she takes off her hat and takes the lamp out of it, which is pretty cute. She's a magician. I love you, Neo. And she hands the lamp to Cinder, and she lets Cinder take it out of her hand, which I don't know why she does that, because Cinder can ask a question with it in her hand. And I don't know why they focus on that scene so much, because then Cinder just asks a question in front of her like she was going to do, like she told her she was going to do, and then they all see the answer together, so it's fine.
Yeah.
Oh, and I like, as they're going to use the lamp that way, Watts sighs, and I'm like, this motherfucker knows what's up.
He knows this was a waste of a question.
Yeah, he was like, oh, 2 seasons of build-up for this.
That is something else I've seen on the RWBY Reddit in terms of people being pissed off, is that the idea that this was what you used the final Jin question for. There was only one question left.
If they'd let Ruby waste the question at the end of last season to do her big silver, I think, there would be nothing different. It'd be fine.
Yeah.
There's no reason that they didn't let her do that because they weren't saving the question for anything important after all. It's awesome. And then they get to show us the previous episode again. And it's like, yay, I'd completely forgotten the previous episode already because I'm a dumb child.
All that build up from the OP where Cinder's walking around and being like time stopped. It ends up being that Cinder was just watching this stupid fucking meeting where they decided they were going to destroy Atlas. Like, I feel like we haven't talked about that enough. I know that we have.
It's hard to express just how fucked it is that RWBY was just like, we beat both the final bosses, you know? Things are maybe okay for an ambiguous period of time now. I think we'll just go ahead and destroy the kingdom real quick.
They destroy the kingdom.
Wait, Phoenix, someone later this episode is going to have some sage words for you about the concept that they're destroying the kingdom simply by destroying it physically. And then you're going to have a valuable lesson that you learned and you definitely didn't learn from Thor Ragnarok, and you're going to feel like a big old dum-dum.
I'll be honest. I'm worried about what my neighbors in other apartments think.
Oh shit, the chat, thank you. Thank you, the chat, which is a sentient single being. Fucking Jin, when she comes out of the lamp, she has to do a sexy pose and look very sad and disappointed simultaneously. And it's one of like 50 shots of the show that's fucking amazing. And she's like sticking her boobs and butt out, like, but her look is like, oh no. And it's the best.
Oh no. The characters who have control of me had made me select something that is bad. And I know what is bad. I know what's bad. I know that this is a bad idea.
She just loves those clever kids.
We need to talk about the Hazel scene.
Why are we talking about Hazel scene? We can't talk about the Harriet scene yet. Are you kidding me?
Cube, I don't have a very good grasp of what time right now.
I'm going to hold your hand and lead you through this episode. Together we will do it. I'm so proud of you, girl. It's beautiful.
This is the only way I could get through this episode.
Look.
I can't express the extent to which I could not cope with this episode without me being drunk the entire time.
I just need you to keep your shit like 30% together so we can get through all this crucial material. It was all very, very important to me and my Kokoro.
Look, Cube. I'm happy to let you lead me. I'll keep myself to myself.
I'm taking your hand.
Yeah, no, please do.
I'm leading you over the precarious light bridges. Come with me, and you'll see it's a
world
place
of pure imagination. Yeah. It's difficult to express the extent to which, like, the idea that we are meant to be surprised by what happens this episode.
I mean, I was surprised that something logical happened. Granted.
But the idea that we were meant to have watched the last episode and go, I'm upset by the idea of all of the different things that could go wrong. And then in this episode, they show us all those things going wrong, and we're meant to be like, what? What? We're meant to look like surprised Pikachu.
No, my sleeper cell person's got my back. They know what's up. But I've never seen this level of characters do things that don't make sense, and then even the show seems to understand it didn't make sense.
Yeah.
And characters just fucking watching the show and referring to things that they don't know. By the way, Penny having a virus is not something that anyone around her ever actually found out.
No.
All they know is that she's compelled to do something she doesn't want to do, and she's acting weird. And for some reason, all of them suddenly realize that what she's dealing with is that she's been hacked by someone.
Yeah, no.
Because everybody watches the motherfucking TV show.
That is the worst part of the RWBY writing up to this point, is that they don't recognize that most characters shouldn't recognize what is happening. You should not be paid for being this bad at your job. This is not something that I've never wanted the RWBY animators to lose their jobs. And I still don't.
They're doing their best with what they have.
Yeah, they have talent. Like, you look at the way they animate Neo, like in the last season when they were like, The RWBY animators, the people on the ground, have more talent than anyone else involved. But the fucking writers.
The concept artists, good. Like a lot of people doing a lot of good work, but the writers.
The writers are so unbelievably bad.
It's webcomic style writing, right?
Yeah.
Except that there's like 80 people who rely on their jobs
Yes.
for you to do a baseline competent job.
Yes.
Nobody fucking wants goddamn psychopath monster writing from this show. People just want things that happen in a logical manner and then for characters to do dramatic, cool anime things.
Yeah.
And they can't fucking manage that shit.
They can't manage it. Like, I don't think there is another property out there where you can look at the amount of money invested in this show and ask, like, why are these people still being paid? Like, how is this level of capital being invested in something like this? And the writers are so goddamn incompetent. Like, as much as I like rag on Eddie, one thing I will give him is that he's better at writing dialogue. Like 1 through 3. He was better, like that they inserted a whole fight scene in episode 3. They inserted a whole episode.
Phoenix, we've gotten through like a third of the episode. I need you here. I need you present.
I'm so sorry, but like I can't get over, like, as much as last episode was
I'll die.
as much as last episode was fucking terrible. I can't get over how bad this episode is.
Yeah, but that's why if we don't touch on all the things, I'll fucking die, Phoenix.
No, this is the
I'll
thing.
explode.
Like, I cannot believe the level of escalation. It's fucking mind blowing. Like, we thought what last episode was bad with Penny becoming human via like all these terrible metaphors. We thought that was like the worst thing we'd ever seen. But holy shit, this episode is worse. How could you have written an episode that was worse after that?
You're wrong. This episode's way fucking better. It's so hilarious. Case in point, next thing that happens after they see all the flashback of a couple episodes ago.
Yeah.
So Cinder and crew, so they're CWN, right? Oh, I got it. They're Team Nuke, NWC. So
Sure.
you see, it
Sure.
all works out. Okay, so they show up at the Atlas Command Center. Funny Atlas people, we get to see them again. And there's a jump cut to the Atlas Command Center burned down and everybody dead because they can't fucking... I think the animators are good, but the editors are shit. Because the way that the jump cut works is that you see everyone at the Atlas Command Center get up and run away, and then the jump cut to them dead is them sitting back down in their chairs having died.
It's so funny but also offensive that like Cinder and Watts and Neo turned up in the Atlas Command Center, which was apparently still functioning.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Apparently all those people were still functioning despite the fact that like Iron would have gone insane.
What are they even doing?
That's the thing. All of them turn up and all of a sudden everyone is fucking dead. Like the people who were in charge of the Atlas Communications, in charge of managing this situation where like all these Grimm were here and everyone like was sheltering and like trying to avoid dying. 3 people turn up and they're all dead. Like they die.
And Neo comedically like hits a dying guy in the head. I'm like, LOL.
Like they've even, I didn't think they could do this, but they've even ruined Neo. They've like I've always loved Neo. Neo is a character who is like entirely the animator's responsibility in terms of making cool. But now Neo has killed innocent people, and we just watched her murder a person who was trying to do their best.
Be nice, Dan.
Yeah, and Neo just kills them. Neo ends their life.
Look, Neo's been trying to kill people this entire time, and you've been a hypocrite for thinking that she's less of a bad person just because she's failed at killing. I've accepted her for the motherfucking murderer she is this entire time. Queen I stand.
That's the worst thing, is that like I have enjoyed Neo because she's been killing the right people, but all of a sudden she's killing the wrong people, and the writers don't recognize that, like, Jesus Christ, Neo is just killing people who are trying to do their best.
Yeah, she's really super fucked up now in a way that it doesn't feel like they realized before.
Yeah.
Again, they don't see all these characters as people.
No.
They're kind of people in like a vague theoretical way, but they aren't people.
No. They don't see the difference between Neo killing idiot Atlas soldiers who were just following orders, and that's fine. Like, I don't care if Neo kills these people. And Neo killing people who were like people trying to do their best in a shitty situation.
Aww.
All of a sudden, Neo is a fucking monster. And they don't see the difference.
Look at you having empathy for these normal people living their lives, you fucking idiot. That's what you get for thinking of the people who don't have magical attack powers as people, you stupid.
I feel so terrible. Like, I actually feel terrible for Neo in a weird way.
Yeah, she's definitely moved to like an actual straight up heartless villain person in a way that I didn't think of her as before.
Yeah. Like previously she was justified in the way that she was killing people. But they have moved her into a position where like, oh, no. You are not justified in killing the people you were killing. You were actually like a terrible person. And like, you know what's funny is previously they had tried to like make Cinder into this person who was like, oh, you know, it's debatable whether or not the people she's trying to kill is like accurate in terms of the people who deserve to die. But Neo is in a position where it's like, okay, you have no justification for killing those people. You have no justification for killing utterly innocent analyst people.
Yeah, she just likes killing now. She just likes blood.
We talked about last episode in terms of, you know, Penny being ruined and what could you do to ruin Neo. And it turns out like the penultimate episode of this season, they managed to ruin Neo as well.
Nah, I'm still in corner, but again, only because I'm viewing this episode not the way that like a serious viewer would. So to me, like this entire thing is a farce, right?
Yeah.
So Neo's just having a good time with this stupid ass bullshit, running around kicking NPCs, doesn't give a fuck, and I'm here for it.
That's the only way you can justify Neo's actions. Otherwise, Neo...
No, I mean, that's already the mood I was... That's the mood this episode set up.
You reckon?
Because again, it's pretty clear they don't know that she's a horrible, terrifying murderer. Now they're still having fun showing her doing cute animations and shit.
Yeah, that's true. It's incredible that like the dichotomy they're trying to make us accept. Oh, it's bad that all these people are being Atlas and killed. But at the same time, it's okay if RWBY does. It's okay if Neo does.
Yeah, fuck them. Anyways, Cinder and Neo are gonna leave to go kill a RWBY, and she leaves Watts there, and Watts is gonna do some computer shit. And she's like, "You deserve this, Arthur. We'll be back. Sexy, I'm definitely not gonna leave you here to die. That's definitely not what I'm trying to imply to you, Watts."
What the fuck is Watts doing?
He cuts off the message.
Yeah, we see him do that. But like, what is the implication that he's definitely going to be collected by Neo and Cinder?
I think we're supposed to get that. He's fucking not. Because I think this episode is called Worthy as a callback to his line at her.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling that maybe in another version of this episode, he died already, but he's going to die next episode instead. But they still called this episode Worthy. That's my game theory.
Yeah, it's so fucking ridiculous. Like, oh yeah, we're gonna come back and get you. The same way that like someone was gonna come back and get Jocks and Ironwood.
Oh my God. Speaking of which, you want to skip to that part?
Sure, I don't care.
Well, then let's not. Let's continue to go in order. Also, Watts eats an apple, and at first I was like, oh, I get it, Snow White. No, wait, that's not Cinder's fairy tale. I guess apples are just cool. Death Note or something.
What am I meant to take from this?
I guess because it's morbid, because there was like some blood on it, but I assumed it was like a fairy tale thing, but then I was like, wait.
I was kind of like all these people in the Atlas control room, including the number one dad/dud who died.
Oh yeah, he's fucking dead.
They actually died in this episode. I was like, what am I meant to take from this?
Nothing. The writers don't care. You shouldn't either. Crow and Robin, however, are named characters. We need to see what they're doing. We need to see what these awesome named characters are doing, Phoenix.
I am so incredibly frustrated by, like, characters die. Death is a big thing. Death is a big deal. But, like, depending on who you are, death isn't an issue.
You know what it is? These motherfuckers love 90s action movies. The Ironwood scene with Jocks is incredibly 90s action movie.
Mm-hmm.
And the logic of the entire show is incredibly 90s action movie. If you're just a faceless mook guy, your death doesn't count because explosions are cool.
Yeah, they are. Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. No, 100%.
Anyways, Crow and Robin are handcuffing the frozen Aesops because it turns out that you can freeze people with stay for, very, very limited time.
No, this scene, this whole scene, which takes up like 5 minutes of this whole episode, is such a fucking joke.
It's the best. The way that Vine looks when Crow is putting his arms behind him, we need to loop in the video because he just looks all resolute as Crow moves his arms around like a fucking action figure.
This is so
and it's my favorite thing that's ever happened.
This is so bad.
No, it's about loyalty and it's about following orders and it's about when you should stop following orders and it's a very important thing.
This is so bad.
And you know what else? Have you seen Thor Ragnarok? I'm going to assume you haven't seen Thor Ragnarok and you won't recognize that I'm stealing this from Thor Ragnarok because I'm Elm and I'm gonna say like, oh, but there's destroying the kingdom, and then Robin's gonna say, what do you think a kingdom is? The people or just the chunk of land they live on? But you never thought about that because you've never seen Thor Ragnarok.
Can I talk about this? Do you mind if I talk about this?
Is it about Thor Ragnarok?
I mean, yes.
Tell me about Thor Ragnarok.
So Thor,
big man.
in which case is like Q is Crow.
You're fucking drunk.
So Odin says, "Are you Crow, god of hammers?"
Okay, so Crow is Thor. Tell me more.
The whole point is that Vine managed to grab on. So what happened? Right, what happened was everyone was being tilted by the fact that Atlas was falling. So because like Atlas falling, the giant island that was floating above Mantle Atlas falls.
No, it's fine. Only this single area is acting like it's falling for some reason.
Yeah.
Everyone else everywhere else on Atlas is fine, but this area is tilting and shaking.
Yeah, so there's a section that's tilting and shaking, and like Harriet, because she's fast. Harriet's fast. You know Harriet's fast. So Harriet is fast, and
I'm aware.
Yeah, Harriet's fast. She dives onto the section that has a bomb.
It's one of the planes. It's the plane that had the bomb loaded in it.
Yeah, it's the plane that had the bomb loaded.
Gotta get on there.
What's lucky is that Vine, because he's quick thinking. Like Vine's quick thinking. Did you know that? Vine's quick thinking.
I mean, I didn't. He seems pretty slow thinking, frankly, based on his dialogue this episode. But go on.
No, Cube, you're wrong. He's quick thinking.
Okay. By the way, Marrow and Elmer are KO'd and maybe dead or something. Who cares? But just so if people are wondering what happened to them, that's what happened while Feen is describing what's going on with Vine.
Cube, you were describing such irrelevant plot details. These are irrelevant plot details.
I'm sorry. Tell me about Vine.
Vine manages to grab onto the shutting cargo door.
Yeah, he's in there.
Yeah, he's in there.
Robin and Crow are like, what?
And like so Harriet is a cool character. Harriet, I love. She's a cool character.
She's a good character.
Yeah, no, she's amazing.
Cool character, goes fast, hits hard.
She's amazing.
Really
she's
likable.
Amazing.
So what's she gonna do now?
So like, Ironwood is dead, or at least like ink past it. No one knows what's going to happen next. Atlas is falling.
You need to come back to the mic, Feen. Come back.
Atlas. It's only a matter of time before Atlas falls.
It's mid-fall, motherfucker.
Yeah, it's mid-fall, and it's going to just strike Mantle, and everything is going to be destroyed.
Yeah, everyone's going to die, and the entire place is going to be destroyed momentarily.
Everyone's going to die. This is really serious. Everyone is going to die.
So what's Harriet got to do?
What Harriet's got to do is that Harriet is going to take the bomb that is on board the ship she boarded.
Yeah, the big bomb. It's very important to the plot. What's she going to do with it? What's she going to do with the big bomb, Feen? I bet it's going to be something really important that's going to change everything that's happening right now.
Harriet is going to arm the bomb and blow up Mantle.
Wait, Feen, I think you're misremembering because it doesn't make any sense. Why would she do that?
Well, because that's what Ironwood told her to do. And so she should do that because that's what Ironwood told her to do because she's a cool character. She's such a cool character. Like, she's like, you know what? I was given an order. And despite the fact that, like, we see an actual shot of Mantle people running into a portal.
Yeah.
Innocent Mantle people running into a portal.
But those fucking Mantle pieces of shit didn't make Penny come do the thing that Ironwood wanted her to do.
Yeah. No, Mantle.
Time to pay, motherfuckers.
Harriet is like, you know what? Fuck you. Penny didn't do this particular thing. I'm going to blow everyone up. And so, like, Harriet is like, you know, I'm going to do that. But luckily, luckily, Vine managed to get on board that ship.
Oh, the reasonable person.
Vine is like this person who has been Harriet's teammate. And Vine is like, you know what, Harriet, I recognize the fact that you were close to Clover. Clover was incredibly important to you.
Wait, I'm not letting you skip past the first line he has because it's my favorite line in the fucking episode. Because he puts his vine arms on her and he says, I'm no longer certain this is the most logical course of action. And I ascend to a heavenly plane.
Vine has only just picked up on the fact that maybe this wasn't the best idea. That like blowing up Mantle with a bomb is like, oh, you know what? I don't reckon this is the good idea.
Also, he's this motherfucking Rooster Teeth for a subscriber over here. He says, Ironwood is no longer in charge. Ruby and the others have used the staff because he knows who the main character is. He knows Ruby told Penny to do the thing. He's a fucking loyal ass viewer.
I cannot get over the fact that the writers of this season do not recognize who knows what and when.
It's like they all just assumed that the writers of the other episodes would put that shit in, you know? Like, I'm sure Eddie will establish why he knows this. Oops, he didn't. Well, fuck it.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because everyone knows exactly what's happening all the time.
You know what really matters? It's the principle, Vine. It's about loyalty. Clover understood that. Clover would see this through. Clover would kill millions because Clover was a good citizen.
Yeah, that's what Harriet says. It's that she recognized that Clover would have done this, and Vine is saying,
Feen, come back. Feen, come back.
Maybe Clover wouldn't.
Feen.
Maybe Clover would have recognized the situation has changed.
No, Vine believes her because he says, then perhaps Clover was wrong too. Fucking shitting on the dead.
But.
Don't you dare, Clover. He was important to you. Look, what's important is that Harriet is a victim. She's just lashing out a bit because she loved Clover so much. He was super important to her. And sometimes when someone you're very, you care about a lot dies, you have to nuke a whole country. That's relatable. Fucking women.
So Harry's flying forward in an actual Atlas combat vessel, and then somehow, Crow and.
Do you need a break for a part 2?
Yeah, I kind of do.
All right. Well, this is frankly Rooster Teeth's fault. You did this to us. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Serious Sober Ruby Casts, where we are very sober and very serious about talking about the things that happened in this episode of RWBY.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
You have literally nothing to apologize for. This is going to be the best episode of the show, but at some point we do have to talk about the things that happened in this episode of RWBY.
Yeah, at some point, yeah. I should probably explain.
Now we can.
I should probably just quickly explain what happened. I had a bottle of gin on the desk next to me, and I only intended to have a couple, but I guess at some point I just kept pouring myself a new glass of gin, and I just sort of I got a bit too incoherent to really continue, and I needed to lie down. So we're picking it back up now.
Had to go take a little sleepy.
Yeah.
You had to recover your aura.
I took my own aura down with gin.
Yeah, that's why alcoholism is a big problem.
Should I ever attempt to drink while doing an anime slushy next time, I think I'll have some sort of limited access to drinks, so I don't. maybe I'll just have a couple of beer cans there, and not just like a bottle of gin with 28 standard drinks in it. So yeah,
we'll see. Because I think after people hear this, they're going to be like, "Please don't limit yourself. Please fly free, beautiful bird." Anyways, we were talking about Harriet. Vine was talking her down. She was admitting that this was all just really about her fifis for her beloved Clover, who she totally loved or something. It's because they can't accept their feelings about each other is the reason that they try to do a little genocide every once in a while.
Yeah. You sort of have to get into the insanity of, even if this is about being loyal or whatever, the fact that, do they know Atlas is falling? Like they do, don't they? Because they talk about it.
Yes, because they were also in the one area that was feeling the physical effects of Atlas starting to fall for some reason. Remember, like things tipping over and all the planes were falling out like whoop, whoop.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know why she thinks this is what Ironwood wants.
Well, because it's the last thing she heard Ironwood say. They have to go and do this. But like, if she knows Atlas is falling, then she knows that this is like, you're like bombing a place that's about to be bombed. But she has to do it because she's such a cool character. She's just like, you know, like when she starts crying about how this is actually about Clover, you know, oh, I felt for her. I feel so bad for her. Don't you, Q? Don't you feel really bad for this person who's about to just go and bomb a bunch of innocent people?
It's really funny when you have like a character who's evil and who's done a lot of really horrible things cry, and then you're like, what am I supposed to feel about this character? But at least I'm sure that only happens one time this episode.
I hope so. I hope that's what happens.
But yeah, it's fucking bullshit, but he's managed to mostly talk her down. She you know, this man has made this woman reasonable, just like what Watts did with Cinder by putting her in her place. Everything's going to be okay. But you know what woman has not been put in her place a single time in this show? It looks like you underestimated me again! And Robin rams the nuclear bomb ship angrily because she's so mad that everyone keeps ignoring her relevance as a character. She's so fucking important.
Someone on Twitter pointed out how like Robin just fucking loves to escalate situations in planes. That's her thing. If
you put this woman in a plane, she is going to fuck everything up.
Yeah, yeah. Specifically, she is going to make people angrier, and that's going to ruin things. So she's ramming the ship with another ship. Because they've been rammed and they're under attack, Harriet's like, fuck it, and she arms the bomb and tries to kill Vine, I feel like.
Yeah, she tries to kick him out the back, and he hangs on with his magical vine arms. Look, he's no longer loyal. He deserves to die. That checks out. Harriet's fucking insane. It's fine. So she goes back to pilot the ship again because she had turned the autopilot on, but now she has to pilot it directly. I forget how that all works out. Yeah. Like, I don't even know exactly where the fuck she's going, just Mantle in general as a concept.
Yeah, I think so. She's going to fly past and drop the bomb and come home. And get a pat on the head.
Yes, because, again, they're all about to die regardless. It doesn't fucking matter. There's no reason for her to be doing this. But someone's got to stop her. Robin, not helpful. Harriet flying the plane. Here comes one of the 50 best shots in this show. It's fucking, there's a little bird coming in the middle of the screen, flying right at her. It's the best, it's Crow. He remembered that he can turn into a bird, and then he comes crashing through the window, and it's like, ha ha.
I want to know, so you got two ships, right? You got two ships flying away from Atlas towards Mantle, which again, there shouldn't be that much distance between Atlas and Mantle. It should just be like you go straight down. Forget that. You got two ships flying away, and somehow a bird managed to like race ahead of them and then fly back into the fucking windscreen of this fucking plane. How did he get that far ahead?
He's the only one who remembered that to fly from Atlas to Mantle, you just have to go directly down. I think he probably just dropped down human form and then turned into a bird once they presumably had flown out and circled back around, because everyone has to do that to get anywhere in the show.
So they start fighting. Crow and Harriet start fighting.
There's a shot that was a mistake where he pins her down and he's like, you know, maybe you're getting that fight you wanted or whatever. And it's like, don't have the guy pin the girl down. And it's weird.
It's a little bit, yeah. It's not the best.
He's on top of her and everything. It's like, no thanks. And Vine is just dangling off the back of the ship, and it's very silly.
I sort of got the impression that Robin might have been moving back there to pick him up, but I'm not sure.
She might have been, but with Robin, who the fuck knows? She might have been moving back there to shoot him. Gotta get an angle on that guy. But Watts, ever helpful, it pans up to him, and since Harriet had taken over flying, now someone needs to help aim this ship at Mantle, so he goes ahead and takes over for her and helps aim the ship, because he's helping everybody right now.
Yeah, this is the thing. Watts has been, because since he's been plugged into Atlas to just do a bunch of hacky stuff, so he was the one who cut off the communications. I like that he did it like right at the moment when Jorn just said Atlas is falling, but...
Yeah.
And he was like, dunk.
Good job.
But then he's like, yeah, he's just doing some other stuff. And one of the things he's doing is sending the bomb to Mantle, I guess. Which, again, what, like, it's... Why is he doing this? Why was Harriet doing this? Why is anyone doing this? What is the point?
Do the characters think that Atlas falling won't destroy Mantle? Is that what's happening here?
They were pretty explicit about that's what's going to happen in a previous episode.
Were they?
Yeah. Oscar said that thing about, Atlas will drop slowly, but you don't want to be here when it hits.
But maybe he just means on Atlas.
He might have.
Maybe they don't think that a giant fucking rock hitting the ground does more damage than to its immediate area. Like they've never heard of the concept of meteors. They
didn't understand what the threat was in Avengers 2, which I'm sure they saw.
Oh my god. Well, they fucking love Marvel so goddamn much.
Yeah, if they actually think that dropping Atlas right next to Mantle isn't also going to destroy Mantle, that's pretty funny.
Yeah, it's not even right next to. Again, it's right on top of. Like, maybe they think it will only crush the ghettos because it will go so slowly that it will just like kind of gently click back into place.
Like a Lego.
Yeah, and they're like, we need to make sure that it doesn't just crush the most minorities. It needs to also crush the secondary minorities. So we got to blow them up.
We've got to perpetuate the class war.
And also, so that means that Crow's big fight this season, after he kept making everything about him and his conflict with Ironwood and how he's got to kill Ironwood, Robin just kind of talked him out of it, and now he has to fight Harriet, an insane woman, and that's his big final resolution this season.
They are so bad at setting up cool fights. Like, you run through a whole season and you've got these two characters and it's getting to a place where I want to see them fight. There's going to be so much tied up emotionally in their journeys in this fight. And like no one that's fighting really feels like that. Because there are a bunch of fights in this episode. There's like 4 different fights going on. And there's like maybe only one where it's like, I understand why this character is fighting this character in particular.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, anyways, so since he can't fight Ironwood, let's talk about what's going on with Ironwood this episode. Because it's amazing. And it fits in with, I think, Watts is still completely loyal to Ironwood. He's fallen in love. He's smitten. Because we see Ironwood and Jox in cyber jail. And Ironwood wakes up and he's all like, the staff, they've cut the staff. Ah! And Jox is like, yes, you lose. We both lose. And Ironwood's jail glitches out. I'm making air quotes because it's possible it just glitched out, but my pet theory, Watts freed him, loves his boy, wants to help him. And super dramatic horror music starts playing. This is another part of the show that feels fucking sarcastic and also like a 90s movie, and it's just an amazing scene. His guns are lying on the ground right outside his jail cell. That's where Winter decided to leave his super gun with the 2 guns that slot into it, just in case. Just in case.
Yeah. It's a good place to leave them as Atlas falls and things stop working, presumably. Just leave his guns right next to his jail cell.
And also, I'm so glad that it makes so much sense to make a cyber jail that relies on constant electricity being fed to it. I wonder why more people don't do that. And so he picks up his guns as this fucking super horror music plays. Jox is like, you're going to open mine too, right? And Ironwood is like, sure thing. And he blows Jox up and I'm like, ha ha! And again, this is a scene where I don't know what we're supposed to feel, but I'm having a good time.
Is Jox dead?
Yeah.
We don't see a body.
Well, come on, he's Jox though.
I know.
And that's the thing. They love to have Ironwood shoot people. That's the only way that they can remind us that he's a bad guy, even if the person he's shooting is also a fucking horrible person who deserved to die. And this is like one of the few justified things that Ironwood has done.
I'm still like, I don't know. You know what RWBY's like,
Yeah.
You don't see a body and stuff. I guess, yeah, Jox is dead. If you had Jox in your death pool, congratulations, some points coming your way.
Also, you know who we don't see in this fucking prison? I know she's not a character, and you're not supposed to think about her because she doesn't have magic anime fight powers, but this country had 3 leaders in the top positions of their country. Ironwood shot one dead. There's a woman that was one of the head council members of this country, one of the people that if they were making, say, a life or death destroy the country decision, she might be the most reasonable person to put in a position of authority. she just doesn't fucking exist after episode 1 of this season.
Nah.
And that's why this show is so goddamn bad, because they don't even think about that. It doesn't matter. Winter, maybe you could give her position of authority because she's an anime person. But this lady, she's kind of chubby, not an anime person. Fuck her. She doesn't exist anymore. She poof.
Nah, she went away. I wonder if like Ironwood was supposed to kill both of them. And they just didn't do that.
Yeah, it's like somewhere between the different people working on that scene, they forgot that there was technically 2 other leaders.
Well, she was in the scene. Like, she was witness to the guy being shot.
Maybe Carrie didn't write her into that scene because he didn't remember there was a woman. So the animators put her in there, but then it just raised more questions.
Yeah.
But Ironwood's free. He killed a man, so what's he going to go do now?
So for some reason, Winter is at the vault.
I think it's because she's just planning to use the same door that RWBY used.
Oh, okay, so she's going to step into the vault and then step out into the transport zone.
Yeah, because you do actually see the gate that they used, like that's at the entrance to the vault. So I assume that she's just going to go through that door.
She's talking into a phone that says no signal and like saying, can anyone hear me? Can I get some signal? She's talking into it for quite a while in a way that you might talk into like a walkie-talkie, but not a phone that says, I am not connected. I am not speaking to anyone. It's sort of weird. Like,
look, they work like walkie-talkies sometimes when the scene feels like it, so it's fine.
Yeah. Anyway.
Then wait, what's this little red dot? What's this little red dot? Is someone coming to play with me like a cat? No, that's not what's happening at all. It's Ironwood. Oh no, he's very angry. He shoot her, but she blocks it with her sword. But oh no.
But it blasts through. It did feel like it took her a little too long to clock on to what that red dot probably was.
She's a top military leader in this country. What's this?
Real quick to talk about this scene.
I have all the dialogue written down because it's important.
I've chased a lot of shadows over the years, always expecting betrayal, but never once did I ever think it would come from you. I know what's best for Atlas, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to get that staff. So consider this my last order. Step aside.
And Winter says something that would be a real cool, dramatic, awesome anime girl line if she'd said it at the beginning of this season or the end of last season. Because she draws her weapons and she says, I've never wavered in fighting the enemies of this kingdom. Pshing, and I won't start now. She stood by this entire fucking season while Ironwood did nothing but kill innocent people and be a dumb shit.
Yeah.
So, fuck you, Winter. Eat shit.
I love the idea that where they think the escalation was with the bombing of Mantle, which is like nuts, but also, yeah, like you said, he was going to kill everyone in Mantle earlier than that anyway, and he shot a guy in the face.
Yeah. I mean, it still would have been like a stretch, yeah, because it's like he wants to move everyone to space and he just assumes Salem won't be there. And he continues to want to move everyone to space after like half the city of Atlas has been destroyed, and that doesn't seem to change any of the logistics in anyone's minds. Blah, 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 all that. But none of that's relevant. What's relevant is that he finally wanted to drop one bomb. And so it's time for her to have her big dramatic turn.
Yeah, but now you say he wanted to drop one bomb. He likes single things. He likes one of a thing. Because when she says, I'm going to fight you because you're an enemy of Atlas.
Oh my God.
He drops a single tear.
This shot, again, one of the 50 amazing shots this episode, because I have no idea what the fuck we're supposed to feel about watching Ironwood make like a serious pouty face and cry a single tear at the fact that Winter is turned on him like she was littering and he's in a PSA and he's crying. and I'm like, why the fuck does this shot exist?
Oh, I meant to feel bad for him, Cube. He's finally been betrayed by everyone. He's finally all alone. He had such an important relationship with Winter, but now he's all alone. The fascist who wanted to kill people.
It's finally revealed that he has the same tear duct disorder as everyone else in RWBY, that where your tears come out of the middle of your eyeball. And they run at each other. They run at each other because it's time to have an anime fight. He takes out his big gun that's made of 2 guns, and he runs at her with his big gun that's made of 2 guns. And then as she goes to swing her sword at him, he similarly goes to swing his big gun that's made of 2 guns at her. anime.
And you're sort of thinking, well, how's that going to look like in a fight? That could actually be really cool, doing some sort of gun fu type stuff. They cut away. We're not going to see that fight.
Look, I'm sure they're going to show it, but I mean, like, it already wasn't very cool when he fought Watts, and back then he was actually able to do a bit of gun fu because he had the 2 separate guns. In this fight, he just has 2 guns and 1 big gun, and I assume he's just going to swing it at her like a fucking purse.
At distance, he'd already hit her once, and it seemed to hurt her. So maybe just keep shooting? I don't know.
Yeah, maybe back up and shoot her because you have a gun is the thing.
Anyway, the main action, where the action is. Where the action is in the Nega Zone.
Yeah, we've mentioned how Cinder blew a bunch of people up, and now it's time for the heroes to deal with her.
It's so... But it's still just... I know we already talked about it, but it really is funny when a bomb goes off and you just see these people ragdoll to their deaths, and it's like, it's not like it's bad, but it's not really sort of remarked upon. And it's also just like, yeah, we knew this was going to happen. We knew that, like, this is such an obvious consequence of setting up this dumb system.
No, we didn't knew it was going to happen. We knew it should happen. I am amazed that it did happen, and we're still not supposed to care. And then Cinder, after she does that and all the characters kind of run up to encounter her, she makes a big fire pillar, and it's time for her to talk a whole long time while the characters just kind of look up at her angrily because talking is a free action.
What does she say?
I knew your plan would be bold, but I never could have predicted this blah, 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 blah. I used the gin lamp to blah, 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 so you know that I used up the last question because you're dumb bitches, blah, blah, blah. And she says, I learned one last lesson. Sometimes if you want to win, you simply can't do it alone. And you see someone who's obviously Neo approaching.
Now hang on. I want to talk about this for a second because, while everyone's running around in a panic, this person who's obviously Neo is walking up. I liked this Neo outfit.
Neo has a lot of looks, and a lot of them are pretty good. Like that waitress look she had, solid.
And this one, like, she's got like a funny hat on and like a trench, like a long coat. Like she looks like an office worker, just sort of, with a briefcase.
Yeah.
So Yang notices this person who's walking against the crowd, and then she notices that the briefcase turns into an umbrella. The umbrella is now a sword. As Cinder is saying, if you want to get, if you want to achieve something, you can't, you got to do it. You can't do it alone. Neo rushes at RWBY with the sword out.
Real quick, before we get to what's about to happen, I need to mention Yang, while Cinder is talking, she loads her arms like that Mission Impossible joke thing. Like she does the like chuck chuck, which I guess makes more sense when she actually has arms you can load. But considering what's about to happen, it's very funny that they put that very funny shot in. And also Neo, it turns out that her umbrella is for slashing now.
Her umbrella does a lot of things. Yeah, you're right. It's Mission Impossible shot makes more sense when you have actual guns on your arms, but at the same time, she is just standing there when she could be just shooting Cinder while Cinder speeches away. Well,
look, I'm sure this is the only scene during this fight where characters will be standing there and not using their obvious abilities to, do something important while other things happen. So what happens next, Feen?
Neo's running at RWBY, and RWBY turns around. She's not ready for this attack. And Yang goes, RWBY!
And it turns out that Neo has 500% damage bonus to sneak attacks. She took that skill, which was very clever of her.
So Yang runs to stop Neo. Neo turns and whacks Yang and takes her aura out in one shot. It's out. Just out. So what Yang does is she's thrown and she's looking like she's about to land on the edge of the platform. But then, much like a bouncy ball, she bounces and goes over the edge.
No, wait, hey, you make it sound like that's really bad, but it's fine because we have multiple characters who have many ways of catching her, right? We got Blake with her ribbons. We got RWBY, who has previously this season caught people out of the air with her pedal ball. We have Weiss, who has many glyphs that could solve this problem. So who's going to catch her?
So Blake screams out Yang, and Blake runs over to the edge, and she throws the Gambol Shroud. And we watch, this is in very, very slow motion this whole time. And the Gambol Shroud is flying out towards Yang's feet, and it pulls up just short. And we see Yang fall further and further, and then sort of just dissipate or fall through a membrane or something, and she's gone.
Two more very important things during this whole slow motion. One, It's really good because if Blake's gamble shroud was like 1 foot longer, she would have just stabbed her sword into Yang's foot. And that would have been a really funny situation. Like, whoops. 2, there's a reaction shot of a split screen of Neo, Weiss, and RWBY. And you get to see Blake run past Weiss in her shot as Weiss and RWBY stare shook as Yang slowly falls to her doom and make literally no motion to help her. And Neo is just like, fuck, that's not who I wanted to hit. And she's angry. And I'm like, it's okay, Neo, you gotta just keep trying, girl. And so Yang is, I'm making really exaggerated air quotes, dead.
It's just a question of it. I suppose it is possible that they have actually killed her. There's like an outside chance, I think. But I think chances are no, she's fallen into some nigger zone. And it's just a question of whether or not we find out she's okay next episode or whether we find out she's okay in a year.
Yeah, because we haven't talked about this last episode, but I assume that they're going to do some fucking weird spirit world shit. Because, of course, you know, Miles fucking loves Korra. Legend of Korra, and everyone knows that everyone's favorite season is the one where Korra goes to the spirit world, and that's the one that all the fans like the most. So I think that that's what they're going to try to do next season, because they've said that next season is like an extension of this season somehow. So I think we're going to have a wonderful spirit world adventure. But for now, they're pretending that she's totally dead, and Blake is like, Yang, and RWBY's like, oh, I'm also upset because that was my sister, I guess.
You know how the marketing keep fucking up by sort of talking about the Bumblebee as a ship when they talk about merch or when they tweet about stuff, and then the creators always make them walk it back. Part of me wonders if Yang actually is dead, is that why they were doing that?
It's so hard to say.
Because they knew they were going to kill Yang.
Because honestly, I had a pet theory that secretly they were trying to stop people from calling them a ship, because it's like, look, we don't want people to think it's just a ship. We do plan for them to kiss someday. But now it's like, that would be interesting if the reason was that so at the end they can say, hey, that was just your headcanons that they were gay. You can't say we queer baited or buried a gay. That's on you for believing in love.
Yeah. And like, also worth noting, apparently it's tradition now to kill off a gay-coded character in the penultimate episode of a season.
It's the best.
It's 2 for 2. But yeah, now I'm just wondering if the reason they were so reticent to do it was because they knew they were going to kill her and she's going to stay dead, and in which case they've just done it again.
Done it again, y'all. But yeah, here's the thing. I don't believe it. I think either Spirit World Adventure, maybe combined with Raven being able to get her, since Raven can teleport to wherever she is. So maybe you can have some more, like abusive mother bonding time, like they did with Willow. But even if next episode she's just fine, this feels really fucked to specifically to pretend that you're killing off Yang, because like some of the kids, they're not as wary as us, and they believe what they're seeing. They believe that they decided to kill Yang. And why would you even want to fucking play with that as an idea when you know that it's burying the most important supposed gay rep you have in your show?
Yeah. You go back 2 seasons to the end of season 6 when they both stabbed Adam and everyone was like, wow, what a great couple. This is good rep. They've known for a long time this is the way a lot of people feel about them and think about them. And yeah, the choice to kill this character as opposed to anyone else is just, man.
I will be pissed no matter what, but if they don't confirm that Yang is still alive next episode, I think they need to eat like every piece of shit that exists in the world, past and future. Like, even if she comes back the season later, that means that they'll spend an entire year pretending that they buried the gay and being like, ha ha ha, we love it. Like everyone was so affected by this. Ha ha, Black Sun is back.
Yeah.
And that's not okay.
No, it's not. It's really not. It's really not okay. Especially when you've like, you just did a season previously where people got upset about the killing of a gay-coded character, and then he just went and fucking did it again. Even though, like, obviously he was never actually coded as gay. That was never the intention. That was just your headcanon. Anyway.
Oh, also, it looks really funny when she's falling because, like, it's one of those... It's the kind of shot that you see in old movies because they had to use, like, a green screen, you know? Because you just see Yang falling in this single contiguous shot, and at some point the slow motion ends, so like she starts falling faster, but without like moving at all or whatever, and it looks really funny. And then she just kind of despawns. So I assume she's been teleported to a magical realm, and she isn't dead.
The other thing that's worth noting about this is Weiss didn't use glyphs to catch her. RWBY didn't use her semblance to catch her, as she is like rapidly transported people in other points this season. But there's something else that RWBY hasn't done that I think is notable.
Wait, did we not cover that during Super Drunken Times, the Eyes of Go Away?
Just in case we didn't touch on it.
You don't fucking remember.
I don't remember. I'll be honest. I went back and listened to like part of the podcast after I sobered up, and there's genuinely this shit I don't remember saying. I was that out of it. I'm so sorry. Really sorry.
Best.
I tried to talk about Thor at some point and just completely lost track of what I was going to say, and I just sort of sat there for a minute. Anyway,
Silver Eyes. It's a thing that RWBY has.
Yeah, so like you might remember, like in the last episode of the last season, RWBY saw Cinder and just immediately fired off the Eyes of Go Away, and Cinder went away. Now, for some reason, that doesn't happen. For some reason, RWBY just forgets everything she can do, and Cinder's here, and RWBY's like,
Remember earlier this season when RWBY used them on the Hound and I was pissed and you were like, hey, at least this is consistent for the last couple seasons, right? If she's really thinking about it and nobody's in immediate peril, she can't seem to do it. But if she gets really upset because something bad is happening to someone she deeply cares about, then she'll probably fire them right off and they'll work really well.
Yeah, it's almost like the first time they were used, it was caused by her seeing someone die. It's almost like...
Yeah, someone she really cared about.
Yeah, it's almost like that was the thing that involuntarily caused them to go off last time. The first time, any of the times that they've gone off. But no, they don't go off. It's fine.
But anyways, oh, my sister's dead. Oh, whoops, time to go to continue fighting Neo.
Well, to be fair, she's just kind of standing there and then Neo attacks her again because, like... Neo has a goal. They're going to fight for the rest of the episode. Now, here's the thing. There's a number of fights that are about to start, but they're so choppy in the way they sort of cut between all of these fights that none of them are particularly satisfying to watch, I found.
It's like they technically have fight scenes this episode, but yeah, it feels like more like the setup to fight scenes, even though characters are on screen fighting. It's not that same kind of like, here's a specific action scene that you can sink your teeth into.
Yeah.
It's just like you get enough footage to understand that these characters are currently in the state of they are fighting. The girls are fighting, we assure you. And then we cut to something else. But this fight with Neo, before Blake goes to try to help, it's Weiss. Weiss apparently doesn't give a fuck that Yang died, which mood. And also she goes over to Blake and she's the one comforting her and is like, Blake, we have to do stuff. And I'm like, yeah, she's moving in. And she's like, well, that ship sure sank. It's time for a checkmate.
Actually, dashing ice cream on Twitter was saying, well, yeah, time for the Weiss comforts Blake arc to kick off the ship, I guess.
Hell yeah. And then Blake runs to try to attack Neo in her, like angry sorrow. And it's great because the rest of the times that we see this fight on screen this episode, Neo is attacking RWBY while completely ignoring Blake, who's failing to help whatsoever. And it's awesome.
There's even a moment later when like she hits Neo and Neo shatters. And it turns out they're actually over there. But there's even a point a bit later on where like, yeah, Neo is still trying to kill RWBY. And Blake just sort of stands there distressed, not really knowing what to do anymore.
I have a theory about what's going to happen because she looks over to Neo and RWBY and she looks over to the other fight that's going to be going on shortly. And she's like, oh, what do I do? Like, I have to choose between two. And so my pet theory is that her semblance is going to evolve since they love doing that now. And she's just going to be able to be two people at once.
Okay. So like one of her shadow clones is actually going to be able to fight.
So it'll be like that time when she fought the water dragon in volume 4, except not a continuity error. It on purpose this time. And so she'll just have the same power as Sun, basically.
The other fight that happens is Penny, who's over by the door, sees Cinder.
They were telling Penny to go ahead and go through the door, but she was staying behind because she was worried. And then when Yang dies, she's like, why did you have to come back? And Weiss, again this season, her voice acting, I want a supercut of it. It's so good. She goes, Penny, no. And Penny flies over to fight Cinder, and it's so good. And Penny says, why didn't you learn your lesson? And Cinder says, oh, Penny, I did. And this sequence makes no fucking sense, because here's what happens. First, Cinder flicks her nose at Penny because she's decided that she is a literal anime child, and she watches so much fucking anime that she thinks that the thing that you do is you flick your nose at people because she's a fucking Naruto. I don't understand what lesson she's supposed to be saying she learned, because what happens next is that Penny tries to bring her robo swords out, and then she looks at her back and is like, oh no, that's right, I don't have robo swords because I'm a shitty flesh girl now. And then Cinder just like hits her with fire. And then they just keep fighting. And I'm like, what fucking lesson was that, Cinder? Did you learn the lesson that Penny is a flesh girl? Because you sure don't seem to be noticing or reacting to that.
What frustrates me more is the idea that, like, just the fact that Penny says, didn't you learn your lesson, which is just, it's basically just a soft, it's a layup for Cinder to talk about the lesson that she said she learned in the previous line she had. Like, it's one of those things where, why would Penny say that in particular? It's just weird.
But yeah, but she had already talked about learning a lesson earlier. That scene already happened.
Yeah, but Penny wasn't there for that. Penny was a bit further away.
She was standing there watching all of this happen.
Was she? Wasn't she over by the door until Yang died?
Yeah, she was by the door, but she was watching them with concern and keeping an eye on what was happening.
Oh, well, she might not have heard what was happening. She's only got shitty human ears now. She might not have heard the dialogue.
I'll kill you. But it turns out that, so Penny's been flying. I actually mentioned this in the comments of the last episode. She's just going to recreate all of her robo things with maiden powers. So it's like she'll do the same stuff, but shittier.
And she does, because she can still fly with, wind power or whatever, winter powers. She also, like, once she realizes she can't pull swords out of her back, she gets knocked back and lands on a platform and manifests a bunch of wireframe 3D swords. I'm just, what is that?
I think maybe they're like made of rock, but yeah, the fact that they have like green lines along them is like,
what is these? Well, like, what is this to do with winter maiden powers? Like,
Phoenix, you know that they have all magic. It's canonical that they have all magic. Like, she was using fire to fly with her feet. It's just green.
It's just like, it's such a fuck it. Like, who cares? Just, she can do everything she did before. Fuck it. Who fucking fuck it. It's just,
yeah, she makes swords out of something, some element. Fuck you, whatever.
Yeah, she's got swords again. So her and Cinder are fighting.
And you know who else is able to help with this Cinder fight? There's someone who doesn't have magic, but it's almost very suspiciously like she just has all magic, because Weiss comes in and she uses a gravity glyph because she sees someone in the air, and she's like, I want that person to be in a different place in the air. And there's no other time when this ability would have been useful this episode. So I'm going to use a gravity glyph to move this person that's in the air to where I want them to be, you see, because that's a thing she can do. And she uses it on Cinder.
So yeah, she's using magic.
So Cinder shoots a lot of her explodey glass shard things at her, and Weiss, because she has a lot of other people around her, she does the summon the big night sword, and I think that's one of the more reasonable times she's used it. And I was like, that's a pretty cool, quick move, Weiss.
It protects people, but the thing is that a lot of those shooty things fly through one of the portals. Yeah, John sees them and he's like, what the fuck? And so does everyone else who's trying to walk through that portal who was almost killed. So many people are dying. So many people are dying. We have to keep emphasizing this. You see people die all the time because of what these guys have chosen to do.
And then speaking of the tone problems with that, when they explode, Weiss goes flying in a very Smash Brothers way, and she goes like, wah! and she's like spinning into the air, but then she hits like up B or up A. I forget which one, but it's to summon her gravity glyph and stick her in the air so that you can't get a ring out. And there's several shots after that where she's just horizontally sticking to a gravity glyph in the air. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing over there? Ruby is fighting Neo, and I will say she does her scythe thing where it actually becomes like a war scythe, you know, where it gets longer because she's like trying to reach her, but Neo's slightly out of her reach, and so it unfolds a bit. And I liked that shot. I was like, hey, someone remember that she could do that. That's nice.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, I actually would like to see a Neo Ruby fight, which is just does feel like something that they've been like, they should have been building towards since like Neo came back. This should be a cool moment, but of course we don't get to see it because there's just too much fucking nonsense going on in this episode. Is there anything else happening in the Negazone before we head off to Vacuo?
They're in the middle of those fights, and then they cut to the Ironwood stuff and the Harriet stuff and the Vacuo stuff, which we've covered all of that. So that's basically everything that happens in this episode.
That's everything. I don't think there's anything else notable that happened. I mean, we quickly check in on how things are going in Vacuo. You know, I don't know if there's anything we really need to note from that scene.
Well, we talked about it already, how they all get, the Grimm show up and they get taken off and it's amazing and everything's awesome.
Oh, did we talk about that? Oh, okay.
Yes, you spoiled it. They fucking Jurassic Park get taken off. It's so good. That's how this episode ends. It ends with what? There's Grimm attacking people that are freaking out in the hell wasteland we sent them to? How can it be?
It's just the specific sequence of things that happen towards the end of you're seeing all these people dying in Atlas. You're seeing all these people dying in the Negazone. And then we cut to Vacuo just so you know people are going to fucking die there too. And they do. Like...
And I just think about everyone who tried to defend this writing decision by assuring us that this wasn't the obvious death trap that we thought it was.
Yeah.
But the show agrees with me.
Like you said, it's sarcastic. It's almost sarcastic. Like May in this episode, it is just sort of, yeah, well, gee, those were a bunch of good ideas, weren't they? I'm sure nothing will go wrong. And like I was saying at the start, is that it's so frustrating to me because it's like... There's, it's common in stories like this for like the heroes to have a plan and the plan goes wrong. Like there's a certain amount of risk involved and things don't turn the way they want them to. You don't normally have a plan that is so obviously flawed and like every single thing that seems like it's not even the things go wrong. It's just the things that like should happen. You know what I mean? Like it's not like they got hit with bad luck.
Yeah, it's funny because you see people on the Reddit being like, oh, so people are mad when things are too easy for the heroes and they're mad when things are too hard for the heroes. It's like people can be pleased no matter what happens. And that's the problem is, yes, we can't be pleased either way because you set up a situation where our heroes did something that's so fucking stupid that whether it succeeds or fails, the takeaway is that our heroes are so fucking stupid.
Yeah, and like the best thing about the stuff that's happening in Vacuo is that like, say Cinder didn't show up, the stuff in Vacuo is still a problem. Like nothing that happened in Vacuo was affected by what Cinder was doing.
No.
If you had dumped everyone in Atlas there anyway, they still would have been like attacked by those Grimm and be in the middle of a fucking sandstorm.
No, but it's okay because in their original idea, they thought that they would be vaguely close enough to the city that I'm sure everyone would be able to come out and save them immediately without knowing what's happening or having any prior warning that a lot of people were about to show up and bring a bunch of Grimm with them. So it's fine. But something happened that they couldn't have foreseen.
That's what I love. Is like the villains weren't the ones that ruined that. Like they have some line about how if only Penny was here, she could stop the sandstorm. I guess, but yeah, we did talk about Oscar flashing back to a line he wasn't present for, right?
Yes, that's my favorite. Like again, like Vine is clearly watching the show. So many characters are clearly watching the show, but there's something so surreal about showing a straight up flashback to a thing that happened last episode that he wasn't there for and showing the acknowledgement on his face of remembering that scene. It's the best thing ever. This episode is the best ever. Thank you.
You're so pleased. You're so pleased that the show has managed to be this stupid.
Well, yeah, because it's stupid in a way that can't hurt me, right? It's stupid in a way that's just like, none of this makes any fucking sense. Ha 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 ha.
It's not like turning Penny into a flesh girl. Like, it's not the same
Yeah,
as
yeah.
that. Yeah.
It was interesting because, of course, you were very hurt by Neo being like just a straight up innocent people murderer now.
Yeah.
And that's very sweet. And I totally get it. But again, this episode is so sarcastic and so not giving a fuck about the lives of people who aren't named characters that I can't even comprehend those people as people that she's killing. Because I don't think the show does. Nobody does. It's hilarious.
I think we've talked about this in the past, in like back in season 7 when we were talking about Mantle and all those people there, and how like the show has this weird sort of general contempt for people in the setting who aren't the main characters. They're just sort of these shitheads who ruin everything, and they're there to die occasionally. Like, it's weird.
Yeah.
Like they're never given any agency, and they're treated like a bunch of like idiot sheep. And this is like just another example of that. They're just so fucking valueless. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know that like Neo's always been a killer, but there is something about her just seeing her straight up like stomping on the corpses of a bunch of people that is like, oof.
Yeah, it's like the difference between being someone who's like a hitman for the mob or something, like you do killing when you need to for crimes, and just being like a fucking serial killer Tyrion type person.
Yeah. And sort of like that thing of like stomping on someone's corpse, it's like it's so heartless. It's like, oh.
Like maybe that specific guy was just knocked out.
It's one of those things where it's like, I don't think it hasn't ruined Neo in the same way that like Penny was ruined. But I'm still like, I don't know, I like her a bit less now.
It is frustrating because you know that the writers don't understand what a difference this makes because obviously, again, they don't see these people as people.
No, they don't.
And also, the thing is, so the big theme that they're explicitly pushing in this episode, they had to tell it to Elm. They had to tell Elm that what is a country? Is it the land that the people live on? No, that's not what's important. It's the people. The people are what's important, and the people are what make a country, and that's what's so important, except that we don't give a fuck about a single one of them, and it's totally fine if they all die. Very funny, in fact. What a good show.
I also love that line because it's like, yeah, you guys saw Thor. I remember that scene in Thor, when he has that dream before where Odin pops up and he says, what is Asgard? This could be Asgard. And he's pointing to like just a bit of rural Norway. And it's like, yeah, we get it, buddy. You saw the film, you liked it. It's cool.
It's funny because like I brought it up last time because I was like, oh, I bet this is more Thor Ragnarok because we know they've been watching it and now they're evacuating a bunch of people over a light bridge out of a country, but now they're just like, hey Elm, have you seen Thor Ragnarok? Have you thought about Thor Ragnarok? And I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I wasn't being I guess I wasn't making much of a stretch there. I guess you're just admitting that this is just Thor Ragnarok except bad.
Yeah.
So thanks for making that explicit.
Yeah. And I mean, like we said, the whole thing with needing to evacuate people in general is just it's all so fucking specious. But yeah, that's this episode of RWBY. One left. One dead gay again. Well, 2 dead gays now.
Yeah, God, I can't wait to see what happens next episode because if they think of these two as the same season, so yeah, obviously, like I've said, I have a suspicion that we're going to get some kind of dumbass spirit world arc, but if it's like them. If only some of them are in the spirit world and the others are like in the desert having to deal with all these people getting killed and stuff, that'll be miserable.
I want to know whether or not it's fully acknowledged how many people got killed and if they still feel like they did it and all that shit. Like, is the big tragedy just going to be that Yang's, air quotes dead and not all those people died and the city's gone?
I think if they acknowledge it, it will be in the sense of like, look, if we had done nothing, everyone definitely would have died. We super fucking promise. We promise, the writers told us.
How can they have a show? How can they have an episode where Ren says, we're not the ones who should be making these decisions? And then later on they do this. What sort of show does that? This
is like, there's protagonist-centered morality. It's like a TV trope.
Yeah.
And it feels like in RWBY, that's like a canonical mechanic that exists in this world. And they haven't talked about it, but it's pretty clear that everyone knows who the main character is. Even like the way that Vine will be like RWBY and her friends,
Yeah.
Everyone I think everyone knows and everyone feels that Ruby's true semblance is main character. And everything she does has to be right in the end. And everyone has to understand that she's the most important and listen to her because she's so pure and important.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
All right. We'll see you guys next week for the finale of this thing, whatever it is.
Yeah, I have no idea what the fuck is going to happen. Who the fuck knows? Can't wait.